Hi everybody, I got some questions about handling bases that are larger than base 10, and so I just want to do a quick example or two to show you how those work. So in my first example, I'm working with base 11 and I want to convert that number into base 10. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write out what the digits in base 11 are. In base 11, I have the digits 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then I have one more digit, which is a T. Those correspond in base 10. Well, these correspond to the same thing. But the T corresponds to a 10 in base 10. Okay? Whatever base you've got up here, the digits are going to correspond to one less than whatever that base is. So if you were to have, for example, base 20, they would go all the way down to something that corresponds to 20 over here. Oh, excuse me, 19. I said one less and I meant one less. So whatever the base is, your digits are going to go from 0 up to one less than the base. So I make a little table like that to keep track of what these all stand for. The next thing I do is I figure out what each place is worth. So I'm going to have a number times something, a number times something, and a number times something. I have a 3-digit number here, so I've got 3 places. My first place would correspond to the ones place, which we're going to write as 11 to the 0 power. And I have 4 of those. So I'm going to have 4 times 11 to the 0 power. My next digit, that would be the 11's place, so I'll have 11 to the first power. And T corresponds to 10. So I'd have 10 times 11 to the first. And then my leftmost digit, that will correspond to 11 squared. And I have 3 of those, so 3 times 11 squared. All right, if I need to write it in expanded form, that's how it works in expanded form. And if I need to actually find out what this number is in base 10, now I just calculate it out. Let's see, 3 is just 3. I happen to know that 11 squared is 121, but you can do that on your calculator. 10 times 11, 4 times 1, so that would be 363 plus 11 plus 4. So 374 plus 4 is 378 in base 10. Cool so far? Okay, let me know in class if you have questions on that. Okay, let's look at the next example. Now I have a number in base 10 and I want to write it in base 11. I could write it in expanded form in base 10. I think that you're probably all pretty good with that, but if you have questions, let me know. But you do it just like you did here in base 11. Come back here, slide. Well, you'd have 4 times 10 squared plus 9 times 10 to the first plus 6 times 10 to the 0. That's what you'd have if you needed to write it in expanded form. But that's not what this question is asking. This question is asking you to figure out what that number is in base 11. So here's what I'm going to do. Again, I'm going to think of my little table. So 1 corresponds to 1, 2 corresponds to 2, all the way down until I get to T, and that corresponds to 10. And I'm also going to think about my places. My places are going to be 1's place, 11's place, and 11 squared's place. 1 corresponds to 1, 11 is just 11, 11 squared is 120, that's an arrow, 121. So the first thing I do is I want to know how many times does 121 go in here. Okay, so you're thinking about having, if you think about my other video, you have a coin that's worth 121 cents, and you want to know how many of those coins can you get out of here. So 496 divided by 121. Let's see, if I have 3 of those, if I have 4 of those, 4 of those coins would be worth 484 cents, and that would leave 12 cents left over. So I have 4 of the 121 coins. Now I have 12 cents left over, and I want to know how many 11-cent pieces will go into those. Well, if it's a hard thing to see, you could just do this division. Of course, we know that that's going to go in one time, so I have one 11-cent piece. And I have 1 penny left over, and so I have 1 penny left over. So that's how I would write that in base 11. And again, like before, if you want to double check, you can do it like we did on the previous example. You can take 4 times your 121 plus 1 times 11 plus this 1 times 1. And that would be 484 plus 11 plus 1, which is 495, plus 1, which is 496, so it checks out. Okay, I went through this really quick, but I hope it helps. Let me know in class if it doesn't. Thanks. Bye-bye.